There are no tricks. There are no hacks. It's about blocking and tackling and executing that well.
Hey everyone, it's Nicole B, the Chief Pretty Chick in charge at ShopPrettyPieces.com.
Hey, this is Rolando with Global Tech Worldwide.
Hey, this is Daniel Lederstein with Big Eye.
And you are listening to...
And you're watching...
And you're listening to the
E-Comm Show.
Welcome to the E-Comm Show, presented by BlueTuskr, the #1 place to hear the inside scoop from other e-commerce experts, where they share their secrets on how they scaled their business and are now living the dream. Now, here is your host, Andrew Math.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the E-Comm Show. I'm your host, Andrew Math, and today I'm here with Rolando Rosas of Global Tech and the host of What the Tech podcast, which I'm sure we're going to chat about. Rolando, how are you doing? You ready for a good show?
I'm doing fine. Andrew, how are you?
I'm doing good. I love doing episodes with someone who also has a podcast because,
who's going to interview you? Am I interviewing you or you're interviewing me?
We're going to see. We'll see how this episode goes. I know you're all over the place. You got your podcast you guys do all the time. So I'm sure a lot of people already know who you are, but let's pretend that they don't. So why don't you kind of take a second here, give everyone some more insight into yourself and Global Tech.
Well, I guess, like you said, you pointed out very well. I host a podcast called What the Tech. But let me start a little bit at the beginning and how I got started. I was working somewhere in the tech industry, and at the time, it was right before the tech bubble burst. Mm-hmm. And a lot of my friends were going into tech and say, "Hey, Rolando, you're missing the boat, and you have to be in tech," because they were giving away Ferraris and signing bonuses and everything in the late 90s, early 2000s. Who knew the tech bubble burst? In this case, the telecom bubble, which is what I was in. And, I got laid off. And then about 2 months after that, I couldn't find a job. Everybody that was in telecom was pretty much out of a job. A lot of people that were everything, MCI cratered, WorldCom cratered, a lot of these big names cratered. And so a lot of people were out of work. I happened to have the fortune that the company I worked for didn't ask for all their goodies and toys and hardware back. So after about 2 months, I said, maybe that box that's sitting there, I could throw it away. Maybe I could make some money on it. Maybe somebody wants some. So I dialed up a couple clients and I said, "Hey, look, I've got some headsets here. Would you be interested in it?" And so I called the call center and they said, "Sure. We're always looking for headsets." So I went over, talked to the person, and she's like, "Yeah, I'll take that. And I'll take some more." And I'm like, whoa. Maybe there's a business here. Instead of just repping the company, I was a national account manager for them at the time. Why don't I just sell it myself? I think I could do a better job. So that's where the journey started for me as an entrepreneur. And then I needed to get a computer. So I decided to dust off my old 6-year-old computer from college because I didn't have a computer. The work that I was at had taken my laptop back, or their laptop back. So then I decided, well, let me go get some cards. Got cards. I needed a website. I got a website. Had somebody do it back. This is when you couldn't order online the way we do now. You had to click to call, or it said call us now or something like that. So if you did a Yahoo store, that's how I started. And so, and that's progressed over the years into now where, we're selling in multiple countries, selling on Amazon, multiple platforms. And just now for the last year, like you said, I've got my own podcast here and talking about technology and how companies can be more efficient in buying technology and bringing those into the office.
That is quite the background. One of the things I wanted to ask you, because I knew this was the first thing I wanted to ask, because I've often spoke to a lot of e-commerce sellers about the benefits of them starting their own podcast and how it can actually help them grow their business. And a lot of sellers don't. Maybe it's just me communicating incorrectly, but they just don't get it. You obviously have already started one that's fantastic. What made you decide to start a podcast, and what made you think that it was going to help your business in itself?
Well, a podcast, I was in that camp that you were talking about, where what's a podcast going to do for me? Most of what I'm doing is mostly transactional anyways. And so what value does it have? During the pandemic, this is kind of the way we looked at it a lot more people than today were home. And a lot more, I was looking at the numbers on YouTube, on Google searches, on everything that has to do with consumption of media was going up and up during the pandemic. And so if more people are at home, it's a lot easier to reach them right on their mobile phone screen. Oh, my mobile phone, I have to turn it off. Right on their mobile or on their computer, right? Yeah. So if they're there, I don't have to go on a plane and travel to California, to New York, to Florida, to Texas, to Chicago. I can reach them right there, right where they can see me. And that was kind of more of my thinking. It's more strategic. And when I started the company back in 2002, my thinking was the same. I, by myself, when I started as let's call it a solopreneur, I can't reach everybody in all those states. And I want to sell in all those states. If I had to do that, I have to get in a car and a plane, go everywhere. So my thinking started to come back around to where I started. Why not hit everybody where they can see me or I can reach them from a scalable perspective? I have a guy, Dave Kelly, who hosts also with me. He's my co-host. He always says, when he looks at the numbers on a particular clip or something on our YouTube, he says, oh, wow, that's got 7,000 views on it. That's 7,000 people that I don't have to go see. They can see me, or they see us, or they see the information. So that information lives on. There's a lot of ways to getting to somebody, not just straight into the website anymore. People are doing research. And so the easiest way to get to somebody is when they are doing that search. Part of that search today includes media like video, audio, podcast, not just what it used to be, which is here's the Google page and they found my Shopify store, or they found the Amazon store, or whatever, a big commerce store. And that way they get to me directly. If you look at Google now, Google serves up a bunch of other things, including the organic results ads, of course, but they serve up questions from around the world or around your region. They serve up videos all on page one. That used to not be the case. So if you're not taking advantage of the media tools available to us today, the multi-platform capabilities, the YouTubes, Facebook, the podcasts, and all of the rest, you're missing out on part of the search that's being done for a customer to get to you. Yeah. And in order for us as a company to be really effective, we had to make sure not only were we good on the ads and PPC, but also on the other forms of search, which includes YouTube, includes TikTok, includes Facebook, includes all of those other media that a podcast, or even if you're not doing podcasting, if you're just shooting tutorial videos of how to use a product or service, that also gets indexed and gets out to the world, and your message gets out to the world. So that helps search. I think it was Gary Vaynerchuk, that basically said something that I was very fascinated by recently. He said, and you follow Gary Vee?
Mm-hmm. Of course.
If you're in this industry, how you do not follow Gary Vee, right?
Yeah.
He said something about if you're a brand, whether you're a small or big brand, the more your brand name gets out there and the more it's recognized, the less the PPC will cost you on a per click basis. So if more people click on it because they don't, or it costs you more when your brand is less known and you also have a higher bounce rate. Now, if your name, even if in passing somebody heard about your brand, now the number of attempts going into that ad go up, right? Mm-hmm. And your cost goes down. So the effect over time is that if you are doing PPC alongside all your media stuff like podcasting, your overall cost for advertising should either be flat or stabilize or go down rather than just continuously going up.
Well, that, and you also benefit from just the fact of now they've gone from basically Google searching something that they hadn't really committed to a brand for yet. So it's a more general term, to just going straight to your site, in which case your paid advertising costs should definitely come way down because you're only fighting for net new customers at that point. Mm-hmm. However, I'm sure it also does help that your product line is basically is what I'm looking at right now. Do you sell that on your website? Is that a microphone that's available on your site, or is there anything around you? There's always something. Yeah.
There's always something. Yes. Not far. And off camera, there's a bunch of more, but yes. So we sell products like this. These are mainly geared for professionals that are working from home or in an office or in a call center. Although consumers can buy it, our approach is we want to be that technology office expert, the office experts for the technology space, especially within the office. And so these devices help folks sound and look better. We have there's video stuff also that goes with that. So we sell the professional version of the webcams rather than the $40 stuff that's out there. And so we help brands and companies look and sound better, because one of the things that I realized early on when I started this company was that there are products all over the place when you're looking at this stuff. But when it comes to that person that has to, or knowledge worker, as it's called, or an office worker, the options are very specific. If you use something and you need it for 3 hours a day, there's something for you. If you're a call center worker and you're on your desk or tethered to your desk, there's something for you for all day. And there's a price range of options. And then when you're talking about the office, are you using Teams? Are you using Zoom now? Are you using all these different, and offices and businesses are so fragmented with what they use and consume that there are stuff just geared for that, just geared for your desk phone, or just geared now for your mobile and your computer. So where in the past you needed maybe 2 of these, now there's one. And one can do your mobile, one can do your PC, and so forth. So from an office perspective, if you have 30, 40, 100, or hundreds of people, and you get the wrong tech, you're going to have a lot of frustrated workers working from home. You're going to have stuff that doesn't work right and doesn't sound right. Imagine if you went on a podcast and I get frustrated to no end when I see people on podcasts and they're wearing just the earbuds to communicate. No microphone, right? Yeah. Just the $20 white wire earbuds with the microphone dangling down here, right? It is horrible. And if you're watching this or listening to this as a professional, you want to up your game, here's some free advice. Get rid of the earbuds, invest in a quality headset, and you will sound better. And your folks that are listening to you, whether you're talking to them as customers or colleagues, they will appreciate that.
Yeah. Well, it all comes down to having the right tools for the right job, right? So if you're constantly working from home, to have a bad setup, like when we started this podcast, I'm not going to just use my AirPods. I'm going to have to get a nice microphone and light and all this whole setup and do it correctly. And it's the same concept. It makes a ton of sense. Do you solely sell other brands' products, or have you private labeled anything of your own?
So we started our journey as a reseller, selling for other brands, because that's what I knew. Back in 2000, becoming a private label or selling a private label was much more difficult. The barriers of entries were higher. The MOQs were very rigid. Now for less than $10,000, you can have a private label. You can have, no matter what, if it's a small item, like we sell it like this is a small item. We focus on accessories for these more expensive professional office products, because the MOQs are smaller. We now have the relationships. And so we have a private label that goes alongside a lot of these products and are complementary. And that used to not exist in our industry. I mean, and they also poo-pooed them because the manufacturers made a ton of money selling accessories. And as anybody knows, the money is in the accessories.
Yeah. Well, it's really smart when you are first starting off a brand where you're a reseller, instead of competing with the brands that you're reselling, find something that complements them, because then you can leverage the pre-existing brand awareness that those brands have, as opposed to trying to build your own from scratch and then competing with people that you're also basically helping at the same time.
Well, you also find out what's working and what's not, what customers are buying and what's not, because every manufacturer has dogs. No matter if you're making a car all the way to a webcam, there are dogs in the SKU bunch, right? There are winners and there are cash cows in that bunch, and you get to find out which of those are the cash cows, and those are the ones that I want to sell alongside, rather than the dogs. And usually they're dogs because of a variety of reasons, but I want to sell alongside something that's selling hot and quick like hotcakes, because that spillover effect is going to be greater than the dog that barely selling, a few units a month.
Yeah. Do you primarily sell on your website, or do you primarily sell on Amazon or somewhere else?
We're omni-channel. We sell everywhere. But when we started, we were mainly on our website. And my philosophy was Ooh, Amazon. Who wants to be on Amazon? That's ridiculous. That's so crazy. There are no real businesses on Amazon. Are you kidding me? That was 7 or 8 years ago. And so when we started on Amazon, and by the way, Amazon's become our biggest channel right now. There's no stopping Amazon. Walmart's, it's a far number 2. They're making up ground. They're appealing to sellers. But still, they're a distant number 2. And so we're on there. If everybody decides tomorrow to go to Walmart, we're good. We're positioned fine. If everybody decides, these big mega companies, we're tired, we want to deal directly with the small guys, which is kind of what Shopify is trying to do. We're ready for that. We got our own website. So I think it's smart to have a diversified strategy, but also smart to be realistic. Amazon's driving the e-commerce craze. Nobody else. Walmart's doing better, but Amazon's driving the cart.
So you and I actually met. I think it's probably might have been 3 or 4 years. It actually might have been more than that. A long time ago at Prosper. I don't know if you remember that or not, but I remember you're hanging out with the basically I referred to him as the Amazon influencer clique. It was just
Chad
you guys were Chad and James Thompson and all of them are just kind of they're always together. And I was always laughing and I was like, it's hilarious that this is the case, but you guys all knew your stuff inside and out. So now, from then to now, I feel Amazon is very different. There's not as many cool little tricks that you can do on search terms and stuff like that. So what's your approach like now? Are you still trying to find little tweaks that you can do here and there, or
every day you have to keep your ear open, and the best way to do that is to have information from other sellers. And so being part of a group, I'm just to put a plug in for $1 million sellers. I belong to them, as well as a couple of other groups, because you want different points of view on what's going on, and that's how you know what's happening on Amazon, as well as your own experience. I think that has a lot of value. And so when it comes to tips and tricks, Amazon's clamped down. That we used to have one where it was a little green neon cross on the main image to indicate that there's bonus items included or additional items. Well, that's gone. And for a long time, that was the rage. You could do this, and it was gray and in a gray area. And Amazon said, no more of that stuff. So what we've really turned to, and in talking to other sellers that are doing really well, is there's no shortcut for having your own catalog team, for having clean, attractive listings, for doing keyword research. And this is the boring stuff. Boring. It is boring to a lot of people. But what we've looked at just on Monday, I was talking to our person who is in charge of doing some of the analytics for us. We have 2 SKUs where we started this effort in terms of really trying to go in and look at all the little levers that are in the listing. So about 3 or 4 months ago, we finalized that on a couple of our listings on Amazon. And on those first batch of listings that we did that on, and compared the numbers from January of this year to January of the previous year, sales doubled. And in some cases, more than doubled. One SKU doubled, the other one more than doubled, but not quite a third. So one 2x and one was 2.5x from the previous year.
Was this just changing attributes in the back end, or was this completely revamping all the front end stuff as well?
So we had some of the elements in place where we thought our listing was already smoking. We had good images. We had pretty good titles, but we had not taken into account how important, how vital, tools like Helium 10 for the back end, as well as combining the keywords that you can now, the search terms that you can extract from Amazon itself. 2 years ago, they didn't have that. So a lot of the black hat techniques were to try to get that stuff. Amazon's giving it to you now, right? And they're opening up more and more every quarter, because what they rather than what's happening right now in Seattle, where they've got some insiders that have been taken to jail and all this stuff that's been happening. They rather now start opening up and say, okay, how do we try to mitigate this problem of insider activity and give sellers enough information so that they can create listings that work for them and for us.
Yeah.
And that means that they have to open up. You can either keep a rigid, tight control and you're going to have more black hats. You're going to have more insider information being leaked, or you can start opening up and just opening up so that there's enough for sellers to use. And that's what's happening. So we started taking that information and combining them. So Helium 10 alongside with a couple of other tools that we've developed, and trying to strategically find where can we make up some ground? Where are we not being indexed? What keywords are we not on the first page? Because if you're not on the first page, you're nowhere on Amazon, really. Let's just be that. And I think some people have said if you're not on the first half, the top half of the Amazon page of results for whatever keyword you're searching, you're not really going to get any real results.
Yeah.
So that's what we started doing with a handful of listings, and where now the results are starting to show up. We've 2x'd and some cases 2.5x, and we're still waiting for the stuff to catch up to us so we can analyze the rest of the batch that we've done. But so far, the initial results look really good. But again, that's the boring stuff. It's not sexy. It doesn't sell a lot. It takes time. It takes a lot of back and forth. Some tools make it a little bit quicker, but at the end of the day, you just have to apply the best possible optimization on every single listing, keywords, images. I'll give you something that we found out about 2 years ago that's really awesome. We found out that on images, if you apply a gradient background, a black or gray on the image, this is a secondary one, not on the main one, but on the secondary one, you will see an increase in conversion. And so more recently, I started talking about this with another seller, and I said, hey, do you realize if you go on Amazon right now and you Google, let's say Bose, I think not Bose, but Beats by Dre. And that's an Apple company, right? They've got a lot of people, a lot of analytics going on, right? We could agree to that, right?
Yeah.
Guess what they're doing? If you go on Amazon right now, as of this taping, you'll find that the Beats by Dre, all of the different variations have black backgrounds on the image. Red, gray, white, even black backgrounds on the image. And so it validated what I think, and I talked to a designer guy when we were looking at this. And if you're on mobile and you've got a white screen blasting you blue light at your face because Amazon's white unless you have it on dark mode, right? That just gets you. But the moment you start seeing these black images, you're pausing because your eyes, especially when you're older, let's just say 30 plus, you find that that's a little bit more easy on your eye to read and look at. And so you're staring at it longer than if all the images were white and the entire screen were white. Same goes for being on the computer. So now the black breaks up how much light is coming to your eye, as well as how long you can stare at that screen. It's because it's a little more comfortable. The black is a little more muted. That's why we have dark mode, right? Why do we have dark mode? Right? Because a lot of people are saying that white screen is just awful to look at all day long. So take that and take it to the next level, which is, okay, let's apply this to the listing. So we applied it, and wherever we applied black backgrounds, we found conversion go up, even on old established listings. That was the kicker too. So if we are already doing well conversion-wise, 50, 60, 70%, we went from 60 to 70, from 70 to 75. And I'll take that any day.
That's so interesting. Because you started off telling about the listing side. So we do listings here all the time. At this point, it's like you said, it's not fun. It is not sexy, but it's something that's necessary. And a lot of times, we'll get brought on because they'll be like, our listings aren't doing as well. And when we look at it, it's the typical way that people used to do them years ago, where it's they shoving keywords in there. The bullet points are all caps for the first couple words. And if they still could fit emojis in the bullet points, they got those in there. And it's just it looks spammy. And our approach has always been you need to stop trying to cater to the Amazon algorithm and cater to the consumer, because all Amazon wants is to cater to the consumer. And that's basically what their algorithm does. So the fact that you are able to figure out that we're going to cater to the consumer, not only in just writing easier and making things easier to read for mobile, but also being aware that even the color of the screen actually has an effect on how long someone's willing to read something, which is genius. That makes a ton of sense.
Look, some of the science is science, right? Like there's some rocket science. We can talk episodes around the algorithm and how people have been trying to game it and all of the hacks, right? We can talk just about hacks, but those hacks have a short lifespan. And if you're in it for the long run, so if your business wants to grow on Amazon means that you have a strategy that could be long term. And that's maybe a year, 2 years, 3 years. You have to invest into the listings. You have to invest into the catalog setup. If you don't do that, the green cross check mark that like we were doing it for a long time, we got away with everybody was getting away with it, but they put a kibosh on it. So we had listings that were search suppressed until we could fix that main image. So that takes time going through and all of that, where we could have done the right thing from the beginning and just had really good images. And which is the other part that we have really doubled down on is taking just an image and taking it to the next level. Because taking it to the next level, not just impresses people, you come away with a distinction that's different, especially if you're getting a result of, let's say you sell, candles, because that's competitive. Those products that are selling better, I guarantee you the candle images on page 1 are much better than folks that are on page 3, 4, and 5. All right. And then you go into the listing itself, you'll find the secondary images are just as nice. And something that we have found is as important as images as part of the listing, you have to have kick-ass A+ content.
Yep.
And the A+ content gets you that next level. You throw in a little video to try to minimize the return side of things. Now you've got a listing that's kicking. You've got really good reviews. And there's no substitute for that. Then it's just a matter of pouring fuel in the fire. Let's add some PPC, right? Where are we kicking butt? So one of the trips we found, I'm having trouble talking. One of the tricks that we found on the PPC side, and I might have picked it up from like the Ad Badger or one of these other guys that's on out there. He or Stephen Pope. I'm sure you've heard Stephen, my Amazon guy. One of these guys. Anyways, they said, look, just do an ad on one keyword, which I thought was ridiculous. I don't know if you've tried this.
Yeah,
it works.
Yeah, it's great.
Keyword, but you gotta find the right ones, the ones that have been working for you. Isolate them. Use that as a PPC strategy, and the ads that we run that on, it runs more efficient and better ROI. To my surprise.
Yeah. Well, you think, because basically what's happening is you're prospecting for all of these terms to figure out, all right, what else should we be running ads on? And then you see like, okay, I'm getting a good conversion rate on this one. You just separate it out and run that one on its own. And then you can jack those bids up as high as you want. And then, as you were saying, like, then it's just a matter of focusing on the listing in itself to make sure that it's just as conversion rate friendly as possible. So your listing images, your A+ content, all stuff like that. So you had mentioned all of those aspects, which are all, standard now. Like those are almost like you won't be successful on Amazon.
Yeah, there's no substitute for it. There really isn't.
There's not. The thing that's still difficult to game is the review side, which is still the one thing that Amazon takes into account in their algorithm. That's really comes down to just, good customer service, great product, and obviously making sure the listing is very clear. So what is it that you guys do to kind of make sure that you're generating reviews and obviously ideally positive?
You want me to tell you something? From day one, we never did Amazon Vine. We never did the buy, click, sell, or whatever it's called. We never did, here's a coupon for $5 off.
No rebate programs?
Yeah, we never, I'm a person that I believe I hate giving things away.
Yeah.
Right. And a lot of people were doing it when we started. You should do it. And I'm like, there's just something wrong about that. If somebody wants to leave a review, let them leave a review. But I don't want to encourage and give somebody $5 off or $10 or a coupon when they may have given a review anyways. So when they shut all that stuff off, we didn't lose that much because we weren't giving anything away or telling people to leave reviews the way people were doing in the past, right? So, but reviews, there is no way around the fact that it is difficult and it's hard. You may get 1 out of 100 people that leave a review. right? And wherever you go, or all around, no matter what industry, you're going to find that the number of buys to reviews is the ratio is very low, right?
Yeah.
So how do you get more reviews? The best way to do it is to just keep using some of what's available today. And if you're trying to bend and squeeze and find other ways to manipulate those, Amazon, when it comes to reviews, they are cracking down. And it's like, so those hacks are short-lived. They don't even look. You used to get the phone number so you can call them. Now that's masked with a virtual number. You have a virtual email. And so Amazon's gone the way of, we don't want you as a seller to even talk to the customer.
Yeah.
Right. And so everything in every turn that they've tried to do and makes changes and modifications, they made it so it's even more difficult to get a review from the customer. So we use the basic, one of these tools from Seller Labs to go out and just, hey, you bought something from Global Tech, you bought XYZ product. If you like it, you can't even say that anymore. If you want to leave a review, go ahead. We would appreciate that. And that goes out and we get reviews that way. We also put insert cards into our products so that people have a reminder that way as well. That also tends to work well because there's some products that is crazy that, well, we just have a lot more reviews than others. And it turns out when we go back and look at what were the products where we started this whole insert card, those are the ones that got it first, because we didn't do it across the board. And we wanted to find out, does this actually work? And it does. It's not 100%, but you're going to get more than you would have if you didn't do it. And if you print, little insert cards like this, about this size, stick it in your product, you can get thousands, tens of thousands of these printed in China for pennies on the dollar.
Yeah.
Right.
Are you doing anything to incentivize people who purchase from you on Amazon to go to your site? Because I know a lot of those insert cards, that tends to be, they'd rather get you to come over to their website as opposed to leaving a review on Amazon. Is that something you guys have tried, or are you just sticking play by the rules?
No, you could do that. There's a bunch of different philosophies. Like, people want their website to be where you go because you can get the email eventually and have them be your customer. There's some validity to that.
And your marketing is better.
Yeah. I heard Kevin King say something. They asked him this question and he said, I'd rather Amazon keep the customer because I don't have to deal with some of the problems and marketing and all that. The customer at the end of the day right now, especially in our field in electronics, over 60% start their journey on Amazon. So that means 30 some percent are going out, may start at Amazon, but they may end up somewhere else. And that number has only been increasing. Google used to be the place to go for searches and start your journey. Now it's Amazon. So you're fighting an uphill battle. And so why fight that uphill battle if you're going to have diminishing results every single year? It's eventually going to be 70. It's going to be 80. And unless those other marketplaces get their act together, it could be in the high 80s. And it's almost impossible to dethrone somebody once they got that much momentum, right?
Yeah.
So if the customer, look, just ask yourself this question. I sell on Amazon and I shop on Amazon. Ask me how many times I've gone to Walmart. Ask me how many times I've gone on eBay. Ask me how many times I've gone to other shoppers' websites.
How many times?
Very, very few. I could tell you, I've been on Walmart, 0. On eBay, only because I couldn't find what I wanted on Amazon. And those things that I went to other folks' website, I did so because maybe I saw it on Shark Tank. And even when I did see something on Shark Tank, I still went to Amazon anyways, see if I can get it tomorrow or in 2 days, right? And here's another thing. We've had contact with Amazon business reps. Did you know this? Amazon has business reps out there that all they do is try to call on big enterprises like Cleveland Clinic, Ford Motor Company, and all of the rest. And they say, hey, you've been buying cups from Staples. How many have you bought? Oh, you bought $2 million worth? How many headsets? You bought $5 million worth? How many paper clips? So they get all this stuff and they say, okay, we're going to do better than Staples. We're going to do all this stuff. And for those big companies, by the way, their back end system for buying stuff is now automatically connected to Amazon's back end. They're not connected to your back end website. So if you're at all selling anything that's non-consumer related, you're missing the boat by not trying to have Amazon as your play. If you're focused on the consumer side and it is all about consumer activity, maybe supplements, fashion, that kind of thing, there's a lot more value being on your website, because unless you're selling something fashionable that a business is going to buy a bunch of, which like PPE, for example, then you're not going to find as much action. So why not be where the action is at? That's my point. Nothing wrong with having your own website. You're just not going to see as much love. And I know a bunch of people from Shopify may come over here and like, what are you talking about? And there's some action there. There's nothing that says there's no, but I want the big pie. I want the big pizza. I don't want that little teeny itty bitty slice that I'm going to get from going to a little, maybe a boutique store where, they serve little boutique pizzas. That's not how I eat. I don't have that kind of appetite. I have a big appetite. I want that big pizza.
Yeah. You've clearly far surpassed, you guys have passed 8 figures now at this point annually. What do you think attributed to that? Because we always say, especially every time I talk to a seller in the show, there's that 1 million mark, kind of that 5 million mark, and then definitely that 10 million mark, like that are difficult, where you have to change your thinking. You almost have to change your approach to get over those hills. Like, what was kind of your, what do you think was your bread and butter to kind of get you guys over that?
I'll tell you, the first thing you have to look at is scale. Everything scales. Imagine if, like you just said, let's say today you're selling $1 million worth of product a year. Let's just make it easier for math's sake. And I said, Andrew, I'd really love to sell $10 million a year. And you said, okay, let's make it happen. Now imagine that happening in a month. I'll say, yeah, I'll take $10 million run rate right now. But your business is not ready to handle that. So you have to think like a 10 million, 20 million, $100 million business, in that if things scale, do I have the pieces in place? Do I have the pipeline to secure inventory? Do I have the cash flow? Do I have the manpower? Do I have the software tools? Can I scale my business to handle $10 million, $100 million? And if you're not thinking along those lines, when you're moving your way up, you're going to experience a lot of problems, or you're going to stay at that $1 million run rate. And you have to break away from thinking like, I've got to manage every single aspect, or I've got to be involved in every single aspect. And when you start as a solopreneur, that's just the way it is. I started that way. You're the IT guy. I'm the purchasing. I'm the seller. I'm the marketing. I'm doing all. You're doing it all. But as you're moving up the scale, you have to think of, how do I scale up? And once you start thinking about what I need to scale, then you start thinking about, okay, so we may need more than one warehouse. We may need more than one supplier. So what do we need to do that? All these little things will trip you up. When COVID hit, and FBA shut down, really, in the US, they shut down unless you were selling PPE. A lot of sellers got hurt because they were FBA only. They didn't have a way to move goods through 3PL. And we were set up for 3PL, and 3PL with multiple warehouses. And we enjoyed this huge wave like a lot of others that had product. Now that wave, even Amazon at large from the macro, has come way down. And so you have to be able to, if you can scale and grow as that pie got bigger for us, we were shipping. Our only problem was we couldn't get enough inventory. And so we were really in a good position to do that, because we could scale very easily. Our back end could handle it. We can handle orders just coming in. We didn't need to add more people to handle it. A lot of stuff's automated. That's the other thing that I would say. Growing, if you want to grow without having to break the budget, go ahead and start automating stuff. Look for stuff to automate, because the more that you can put on autopilot, the less you're going to have to, put a lot of people behind it to make sure that it's riding efficiently. It takes some effort up front when you're automating things, But the more you can automate, the more efficient, the more nimble. And if you have to change things, it's as simple as, hey, let's tweak the automation and it's done. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So scaling, automating, those are things that, again, not so sexy. They're not going to sell a ton of books around that and a lot of webinars around that. But those are the kind of stuff that will actually allow you to go from $1 million to 10 and then from 10. Look at what the aggregators have all promised, right? We're going to take a small mom and pop and we're going to make them a big business because we have all the tools to scale, right? We have all the people, we have the PPC, we have the sophisticated people. That's the promise, right? If you're exiting and they kind of pitch you the idea, we'll take your small brand and we're going to make it a big brand because we have the buying power, all that. So you kind of have to think a little bit along that way. It's like, what can I do to get there? Yeah. What can I do to secure some of that if you're not looking to sell out or go the way of the aggregators?
Fantastic advice. Painfully true. Easier said than done, but
it is totally easier said than done. I mean, look, none of this stuff is sexy. It's like who was I was trying to find out of. I played football, so I have a lot of steam for different football coaches, even though I didn't play for them or know them very well. Like Chuck Noll of the Pittsburgh Steelers took them the Iron Curtain, right? Mm-hmm. The terrible towels. You have Bill Belichick. You have a lot of great coaches that have had great teams. You know what they all say? They more or less say there are no tricks, there are no hacks. It's about blocking and tackling and executing that well. And I want to say it's the same thing with a business. If you want to be in long term, you have to see what allows you to have good cash flow, what allows you to maximize your investment, your return on investment, your ROI, what things will increase the value of your company, what will give you the most bang for the buck without breaking your bank. Doing listing optimization does that for you. Scaling does that for you. Automation does that for you. None of that stuff is going to, again, none of that is going to be New York Times bestseller stuff, but I guarantee you will help a business grow from a solopreneur to a multi-million dollar company all the time.
Fantastic advice. Rolando, thank you so much. I don't want to take up any more of your time. Really appreciate having you on the show. I would love to give you the opportunity to tell everyone a little bit more where they can find you and obviously your podcast as well.
Sure. You can find us on YouTube. We're at What the Teck. And that's spelled TECK, What the Teck. We have a weekly podcast. We have a bunch of tutorials. We talk to business influencers. We do deep dives on reviews for office technology. And we're also getting a new venture off the ground called CircuitLoops.com. Circuit Loops is geared for businesses that are looking to make sure their internet operations are running smoothly or need better bandwidth than what they've got. So check us out on CircuitLoops.com. And you'll find some automated tools as well that get you that price right away. So I'm also on LinkedIn. So if you want to reach out personally to me, I'm on LinkedIn. Look up Rolando Rosas, and you'll find my mug on LinkedIn.
Rolando, thank you so much. A great episode. Loved having you on the show. Everyone who tuned in, obviously, thank you as well. Please make sure you rate, review, subscribe wherever you're listening to this on any podcast platform, YouTube, or at ecommshow.com. But per usual, thanks again, and we will see you all next time. Have a good one.
Thank you for tuning in to the Ecomm Show. Head over to ecommshow.com to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform or on the BlueTuskr YouTube channel. The Ecomm Show is brought to you by BlueTuskr, a full-service digital marketing company specifically for e-commerce sellers looking to accelerate their growth. Go to BlueTuskr.com now for more information. Make sure to tune in next week for another amazing episode of The Ecomm Show.